This episode is brought to you by Rakuten. If you're shopping while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast, then you know and love the thrill of the hunt. But are you getting the thrill of the best deals? Rakuten shoppers do. They get the brands they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Samsung, Expedia, and Sephora. And even stack sales on top of cash back. It's easy to use, and you get your cash back through PayPal or check. The idea is simple. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's RAKUTEN.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kan du norsk?
If you've had that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
At Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw here on Anfield Index Pro, podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and giving me their immediate reactions to Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 1 in the Premier League from the City Ground are Dave Hendrick and Karl Matchett. I'm like Ron Burgundy in that telephone booth, Dave. I'm in a glass case of emotion. I don't know. I can't process what exactly I'm feeling after that. There are certain lads I'd like to get a Ryanair flight over and drive out of the club tonight. And then there are certain lads that I just want to give a hug to. I don't know how I feel about anything, to be perfectly honest with you. What's your immediate take on that, Yoke?
Annoyance, rage, anger, frustration, many emotions, so all of them related. I don't know who I'm more annoyed with. I don't know if it's some of our lads, many of whom just didn't bother turning up in the first half, didn't really turn up until we scored. I don't know if it's Chris Kavanagh, who I thought turned in one of the worst refereeing performances I've seen all season. From about minute 3 right until the end, I thought he was absolutely abysmal. Or Fletch and Macca on commentary, who could not have been more giddy at the brilliance of Nottingham Forest. And you've got Fletch, who's a Forest fan, and McManaman, who's an ex-Liverpool player. And you would hope that between the two of them, they'd find some sort of balance, but they didn't. Fletch was trying to make out that what we had just witnessed was an all-time Premier League classic between two titans, when what we actually watched was Nottingham Forest score early. The two shots they had on target after that, one of them was an abysmal attempt at a chip by Hudson-Odoi that Alisson caught without moving. And the other was a free kick that Alisson dealt with easily. While we had a goal, then we had Matt Sells make, by my count, 5 really good saves.
Yeah, from our 6 on target, he made 5 great saves.
And then we had 1 cleared off the line.
Yep.
So we've just watched Liverpool for the last 30 minutes there absolutely batter Nottingham Forest all over the place. And he sat there trying to make out that Liverpool will be happy with a point. All the while, him and McManaman are praising the referee for letting the game flow. Well, what he actually did was he allowed their boys to kick our lads up in the air. And I thought Murillo was outstanding tonight for them. He should have walked in the first half. About 6 or 7 minutes into the game, Szoboszlai has the ball with 20 metres into their half, and he shifts it to the right and gets absolutely cleaned out of it. And the ref plays an advantage.
Yeah.
Doesn't go back to give him a yellow card. Just before half-time then, there's a ball played up. Diaz is going for it. Murillo has no intention of going anywhere near the ball, never looks at the ball, clears them out of it. Not even a free kick is given. That's 2 blatant yellow card offences. Like Darwin's yellow card against United for what he did to De Ligt was less blatant than what Murillo did to Diaz. And he didn't even give a free kick. You've got Ryan Yates, who wouldn't be out of place in Tony Pulis' Stoke team, running around, booting people, putting his arms up into people's faces, shoving people all over the place. Not a whistle against him. Not a single whistle against him. And then there's like an accumulation of fouls that he doesn't give. And then he finally commits what was a fairly mild foul, and he books him for that one. Just an absolutely abysmal performance. And then, just to add insult to injury, we learn a new rule. And I'm all about learning. I'm sure as a teacher you are, Trev, and Carl and Guy. I'm sure we're all interested in expanding our knowledge. So here's a new rule in football that none of us, I don't think, were aware. If 3 defenders tackle 1 forward in the box, 2 of them are allowed foul that forward as long as the 3rd one gets the ball. That's a new one on me. I had no idea that 2 lads could just foul a fella as long as a 3rd defender cleared the ball and it was okay. So
it has to be Mo Salah, but everybody really. It's a little subsection in that rule is that it has to be Mo Salah who's on the receiving end.
Oh yeah, it has to be an Arab.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to do that to a white fella, but an Arab is fine.
Carl, to bring you in on this really quick as well, to get a kind of a quick reaction for you, just to give the a little bit of credence and backup to what Dave's saying. We had 71% of the ball there, 23 shots to their 6. There's almost been 4 great saves, 1 goal and 1 cleared off the line. They had 3 shots on target, 6 shots in total. Less than 30% of the ball, 233 passes completed to our 553. And this is bearing in mind that we were something approaching what my old man would call wagon in the first half. And the foul count is fucking hilarious. And again, it just backs up what Dave was saying. Apparently, we committed 10 fouls to their 7 in the entirety of the match. So there are quite a few things that a lad could be bent out of shape about. Is that where you land, or are you on the bus with a lot of people I've seen saying, you know what, that's a very good team playing right bang in form. We're away at their grounds. There's hostile receptions you're going to get. I'll take that point and we'll move on considering other results in the night. I don't know. Where are you landing?
With the last run of sentence that you gave us there, I agreed with all of it up until the part where you said, we'll take the point and run. All of those things were true. Forest were in form and they're a difficult team and they're organised and all the rest of it, but we still battered them. We should have scored 2 goals there. And to be perfectly honest, if Sells doesn't have a bit of a worldie, we do win that game. Or if Mohamed Salah turned up to play instead of Bernard Diamed maybe, or someone like that who we had right wing, we probably win that game. It's just very, very small margins of we did enough to beat a team who was extremely defensive minded. You could probably also say that if Wood doesn't score with what was probably about his first touch at that point, great finish, take nothing away from it. It was really nicely worked goal and a really good finish. But if he doesn't score that goal, left-footed across himself into the far bottom corner, I don't know how much Forest really troubled Liverpool in the first half. We didn't play great in that first half at all. I agree with you there. But I do think we had got into sort of positions around the box, around the channel a few times already. We'd already had a couple of shots. I think it would have been a low-key control sort of taking the lead kind of game. So I don't think it's good that we've come out of there with a point other than we were losing, and at one point it just looked like we wouldn't do anything at all. It looked a bit like the Anfield game to me at some stages, to be honest. So I'm glad that we didn't lose, but that's the extent of my not annoyance.
I think that's very fair. You see, Dave, the problem is it's hard not to get a bit of it's hard not to get a little bit sort of just concerned on the back of the very disappointing dropping of 2 points to Manchester United, and then the Carabao Cup thing, halftime or not. It's an odd thing for us to register defeat, and then to have this draw tonight when, let's be honest, as Karl rightly outlines, it's a game that should have and could have been won on a different night, and probably should have and could have been won on this night, barring some, like wonder saves and profligacy from some of our forwards. You can understand when you've got the contract ship going on, you've got all sorts of other distracting and annoying transfer stories and spectacular inactivity in that regard from our lot. You can understand people starting to get and feel a bit rattled. It's not necessarily crying to be a little bit concerned at this stage, because you can see things starting to drift. And I found myself being particularly impatient with our right back this evening and thinking, what the fuck are you doing there? You jog back, almost stick a leg in, and then run the opposite direction to where the ball was going. He wasn't making inventive covering runs. He was just drifting away from the play. And it was driving me fucking insane. And I'm wondering, have I succumbed to panic brain? Because none of us are above it. It can happen to anyone. What did you make of him as an example of what we were doing? Certainly, especially in that first half. But I felt it continued with him into the second.
He did frustrate me tonight, but he was part, I felt, of the bigger problem, where, like, Forest, as Karl said, like, they're sitting back and inviting us to play. But the issue we had in that first half was that we were trying to bait them to press us a whole bunch of times. We saw Van Dijk and Ibu kind of walk the ball up, put their foot on the ball and invite them to press. And they didn't do it. And the reason we're inviting them to do that is because we're struggling to play through the middle. Because the only player we have in midfield who's capable of dropping in and being that first receiver is Alexis McAllister. The problem there is that it's not his strongest suit, and he's also the guy you want him passing the ball to. So, barring the arrival of a teleportation machine, Alexis can't pass the ball 15 yards through a gap to himself. So we're really struggling to progress the ball with our passing. Gravenberch in that first half, other than 2 moments he was involved in, he was utterly abysmal in that first half. And he might as well not have been on the pitch for large stretches. He was either hiding from the ball or he was just getting followed around by Morgan Gibbs-White, who looked like a child that had lost their parent and was just following the nearest grown-up around. But Gravenberch never created any separation just to get the ball and ping it. Get the ball, shift it into a space for someone to move on to. So Trent all of a sudden decides, right, I'm going to take a bit of control here. And all of a sudden, he's now playing in midfield as well. And he did more of the inverting thing tonight in that first half than we'd seen him do probably all season. And the problem there is that what we were screaming out for, other than someone that could shift the ball through the middle, draw some of their players into a condensed area and then spring it to Mo or to Gakpo, is that when it went to Gakpo, Robertson was making overlapping runs. When it went to Mo, he was all on his own. And they're able to bottle him up really easily because Nico Williams steps up to him, Murillo comes out to support, and then they've got a midfielder that can hang in the vicinity and cut out him being able to come inside onto his left foot. So, because we don't have anyone in the team who's capable of just sitting at the base of that midfield and shifting the ball forward for us, getting us into our movement, getting us into the quick, intricate 1-2s and stuff that we tend to like to play. Trent has to do that, but by him doing that, now we have nobody who can overlap on Mo. And Szoboszlai was trying, but because we were getting so clogged up in the middle of the pitch, we were turning it over, and all of a sudden he's having to chase people going back the other way. So he can't commit fully to an overlap on Mo because, number one, it's a decoy run for the most part. And number two, he's also having to do a ton of work off the ball because, again, our defensive midfielder was soft as shit in that first half and got bullied left, right and centre. And he wasn't alone. He wasn't the only one. But when it's happening to him, it has a knock-on effect of those in front having to drop back in. So we saw Szoboszlai standing in midfield a bunch and Diaz dropping into the number 10 and nobody occupying the two centre-backs who, for the first half, had a very, very easy night.
It's hard not to see an awful lot of sense in people who are getting bent out of shape about not refreshing a squad when, you know, you're going through the specific reasons why things were going awry there. And to be fair to you, you're not reinventing the wheel there. These are points that you and I and Karl have made on several shows in the past, and have thought that we might lack in that department. And surprise, surprise, it shows in games when you're in the middle of a long run. Karl, just to get us into our run of things, our normal run of things here, the Reds went nominally very strong with Alisson, who is picking up a lot of criticism, I noticed, in recent games since his return. There's some stat about the amount of shots he's faced versus the amount of goals he's conceded. Is it 9 and 6 or something like that? I'm not sure if that's actually fair or true. It's Twitter stats, so I'm not being certain about it. But with Trev, Van Dijk, Konate and Robertson, we have what an awful lot of people would consider our strongest back four out. Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai is, some people's idea of our best midfield. And Salah, Gakpo and Diaz is some people's best idea of our best attacking trio as well. Our bench looking very strong with Keller and Chiesa finally coming into a little bit of form. Hopefully Jones, Elliott, Jota, Tsimikas, Kwanzaa and Bradley. Hardly much to complain about in the lineup, and it looked like it was capable of being refreshed in any number of ways with the strength on the bench. So I'm not sure if you've anything much to say about that. I'll leave that up to you. But we'll have a quick look at Forest this evening because I listened to you and Dave talk about them. And it was interesting for me because I've only seen them a couple of times this season. And of course, Lance Sells was inspired tonight. He had one of those classic wonder performances against the Liverpool team. But I liked a lot of what I could see from these guys this evening. Yes, they're big rocks, but they know how to do things right. And if they're playing on the margins, it's up to the referee to call them on it. So it's hard to get too down on them. Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo and Williams was their defensive options. Anderson, Yates, Gibbs, White and Hudson-Odoi and Wood were the more nominally attacking lads. On their bench, they can go to Morato, who they did, Awani, who they did, Dominguez, who they did, Jota, who they did, and Moreno, who they did. They also have Sosa, Bowley, and Ward-Prowse on there as well. Talk to us about your take on Forest, the way they set up, and whether or not they are doing what I remember Jim Beglin once learned a phrase when he was beginning to be a commentator. He used to say everyone was, they flattered to deceive, and it was the way he said it. He was so proud of himself. Do you think this lot are flattering to deceive, or are we well past that? And are they looking like a team that's going to actually hold their nerve and stay the course?
It depends really what you mean for Forest and staying the course, because if you mean stay in the top three, I don't necessarily think that they'll do that. But if you mean European football, yes, we very much do. I think that they've got enough defensive resilience about them. I think they've got a shape which keeps them really competitive in games. And as we spoke about on Scouted ahead of the match, it's not just the fact that they're difficult to break down, it's that they are actually translating what they do into wins. It's not just not losing games. They're not like drawing loads. They had won more than Arsenal before this round of fixtures, for example. So I do think that it's replicable, that they continue to play the way that they do, even if the points per game does drop off a little bit, or one of the teams who have had a stuttering period of the season goes on a really good run. I still think that Forest will be there now at the end of the season. That line of three behind Wood we saw tonight is not just technically good. It's really good on the counter-attack. They're quick. They link play really well. But most of all, Gibbswhite especially, they're so aggressive. Like, they're in your face. This is what I like about the Forest team more than anything. And I know tonight they gave... no, they didn't give away a lot of fouls. You made that point. But they did commit what should have been a lot of fouls. But you're right. That's up to the ref to referee the game and to pull them up on that. And if they don't, then why would they stop doing what they are doing? Because it's working for them and it unsettles teams, and they are really, really quick to get in your face and really quick to close you down in their zones of the pitch, the sort of the middle third and their defensive third. And they do it super well, and everybody knows their role. And they've got strength in depth because they had a lot of windows of spending a lot of money. So I think they're fine, to be perfectly honest. I think they're pretty much set to be pretty competitive across the rest of the campaign, get themselves the best season in probably 3 decades or something like that. And just a note on Matt Sells, yes, he did have a worldie tonight, and yes, he made plenty of saves that probably other goalkeepers wouldn't do, but to be fair, he is also the goalkeeper in the Premier League this season with the highest save percentage of anybody.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you gave us that stat so people can console themselves. It's not a one-off. Dave, just quickly on Forest, and if you want to mention the Liverpool team as well, I think you want to mention the lineups, but just quickly on Forest as well. Karl mentioned the money spent. And it's not like it's a new thing. When they came up first, they just bought 11 players. It was insane. But it seemed like their manager took the bait a little bit when there wasn't actually any bait being dangled by Arne Slot if he had bothered to read the words properly and not just listen to what the journalists were quoting on to get a bait response. He seemed a bit ratty in his comments, I thought, which is, I suppose, look, his right if he wants to just dig in and defend his team. But you'd have to give credit to him, because I think an awful lot of people were starting to think, is he just a little bit of a spoofer? Because he had that good spell, but then things didn't work out so well afterwards for him. I think an awful lot of people were wondering what he actually was, what sort of an entity he is as manager. Very hard to argue with him then.
Plagued by the never-ending increases in health plan costs? You don't have to be. We're ClaimDoc, and we can help employers save up to 33% compared to traditional health plans. It's time to take control over rising health plan costs while giving employees the extraordinary personalized service they deserve. That's just what we do. If that makes us health plan rebels, so be it. See how we put members first at ClaimDoc.com.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, he came up with Wolves. He brought them from the Championship into the Premier League. And he finished, I think, 7th the first year. 7th the first year and 7th the second year, which is incredibly impressive with a newly promoted team to achieve something like that. And then I think it kind of all started to get a bit stale and a bit boring. And I'm not sure if that's when the Jimenez injury happened and he, he'd been their primary source of goals. But people do overlook the fact he did a really good job at Wolves, like a tremendous job getting them promoted and then securing them in the top half of the Premier League. And people tend to be very much, well, what have you done for me lately? So it didn't end great at Wolves. But when you look at what's happened there since, this is the fourth permanent manager they've had. None of them have even scratched the surface of what he did. And all of them have dealt with financial constraints. And maybe that's also what strangled his time there. Then obviously he goes to Spurs and it's a disaster and he's booted after 15 games or less than that. He's gone to Saudi, he's come back, and he's done a tremendous job. And at the time of the change, when they got rid of Steve Cooper and brought him in, I was thinking, like, what is really the point of that? Because surely it's just you're swapping Steve Cooper for Portuguese Steve Cooper. And they finished 17th, and there's no way Steve Cooper couldn't have had them in 17th last season. But this season, they've been outstanding. They really have. But for him to sit there and deny the fact that the money they have spent is one of the primary reasons for their success is just beyond belief. If you go through all of the players who've played a single minute for them this season, only Ryan Yates was with them when they were in the Championship. Everyone else has been bought in. And you even look at everybody they have under contract, other than a couple of academy kids that have kind of come through in the last 12 months. There's 2 players, one of whom is out on loan, and him, Ryan Yates, that were with them in the Championship. And the other fella, Jonathan Panzo, barely played for them at any point. So they've bought a completely new squad since coming up. And they've spent a lot of money doing it. Let's not forget they got points deducted last season because of how much they'd spent. So to sit and try and deny that money has played a big role is ridiculous. And it's not like Arne was throwing that out as a shot at them. He was merely pointing out that, they've spent money, they've spent it well, and this is the reward for it. And I think it might have even been a shot at our owners to point out that, speculate to accumulate, put money into the team and good things come back to you. Because you look at their team, decent money on Chris Wood, decent money on Alanga, not big money, but decent enough money for a team that wasn't long in the division. Huge money at the time on Gibbs White, 25 and 17 in add-ons. So 42 million, most of those add-ons based on an England cap, which he's got, and survival, which they've done. So you'd imagine they've paid most of that back. It's turned out to be inspired because he's fantastic. But, they've spent money all across the board, and they've bought a lot of crap who didn't work out and got binned off. But they've churned through those players, and they finally now landed on a really well-balanced squad, really deep. They've got quality everywhere and good options off the bench in most positions. So Arne, I don't think, was having a shot at them. He was merely pointing out the facts of what happened. So for Nuno to get his knickers in a twist over that, I just thought was really disingenuous, because one of your players, who wouldn't be a starter if everybody was fit, was playing for the club when they were in the Championship only 3 years ago.
It's very tempting as I listen to you talk about all the comings and goings and fiscal machinations at Nottingham Forest to get into a conversation about that. But we won't, because it will derail us completely and we'll just get stuck into the game. And if it comes up, it comes up. And Karl, the game started with Liverpool very much on the front foot. I think we had about 3 efforts in the first 6 or 7 minutes. Cody has a dig. On 3 minutes, there's a wild Gravenberch effort on 5. Maybe that was it. There's another Gravenberch dig over the top on 7 minutes. After some good football, decent little move. Then just literally from nowhere, counter-attack, 7 minutes. We're 1-0 down. It is Wood. It's their first attack, their first shot. Mo kind of gets crowded off the ball in the midfield. Hudson-Odoi plays it to Alanga, who looks up, slides the ball down the right-hand side of our defence in the area kind of between where you'd expect the centre-half and the full-back to be. That is where Wood has chosen to make his run. The ball is nicely positioned so he can just strike it first time and it goes in. It's a good finish. Couple of questions for you. Never crosses my mind ever, and I'm starting to see so many people ask the question, that I'm wondering if I'm a little bit alley blind. First of all, any issues around him in terms of the saving of the shot, and second of all, around the concession of it. It felt so disgracefully easy to penetrate our defence. That's all I could say at the time. It was so easy that I was kind of infuriated by that aspect of it. Just around the goal and the concession of it. Any thoughts?
On this particular goal, I have no issue with Alisson. It was a really good finish. Hard, low, first time, took the shot early, across the keeper, right into the far bottom corner. It was a brilliant strike. I'm sorry, but I don't really see any issue with Alisson there. Maybe Alisson in his absolute best, top form, sharpest moment, maybe he gets down to save it, but that's because he's one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. You're not going to get many goalkeepers who are saving that shot, I don't think. The goal itself, many, many, many more annoyances. I don't know. Like, Salah lost the ball in the middle of the park, fine, but Salah not winning that ball, losing the bouncing ball, was then just replicated by about 6 other players being utterly immobile, not aggressive, not willing to put the challenge in. Our defensive line was, well, there wasn't one, that's more to the point. Virgil was, I think, about 10 yards deeper than everybody else. Konate had pushed up to try and win. I don't even know what challenge, because he was not really ever going to be favourite for any of the passes. The 2 fullbacks were not in line. It was a mess. You called it easy, and it was a shambles.
Can I walk you through the goal here? You have it in front of me, right? So, ball played up to Chris Wood. Ibu goes with him, and Ibu wins the first header. Gravenberch drops behind Ibu, and we have a line. The ball hits Elliot Anderson and kind of bounces up in the air again. Ibu, at this moment in time, is basically in the defensive midfield role. You've got Trent, Gravenberch, Virgil, and Robbo in a very nice, sharp line. Ibu heads the ball to Mo. Mo, it's a bit of a loose header. Mo is a bit weak in the challenge. Hudson-Odoi picks it up. Ibu has not dropped. Ibu is still in that defensive midfield role, which means Gravenberch should still be the right side centre-back. He has left that position and just ambled up beside Ibu. Hudson-Odoi plays a ball through a gap to Elanga. You've now got Virgil probably 5-6 yards deeper than everybody else. Elanga has the ball and he's got space in front of him. Trent is trying to recover. Robbo's trying to recover. Ibu's coming from a central area, coming backwards. Elanga very quickly plays the ball to Wood. Now, Virgil has turned the wrong way. I assume he thought Elanga was going to pick it and run with it. So he was sort of opening up a space for Elanga to run into where he could deal with it. But Elanga plays a really good ball. Trent isn't quick enough, doesn't get back to intercept it. Goes on to Wood. Wood lets it run across his body, hits it first time, which means the defenders can't close on him and Alisson doesn't get set properly. And it's a really, really good shot. There's a couple of issues here. Number one, Ibu's header to Mo is not great. Mo is very weak in the challenge. Gravenberch goes completely away from where he should be. Like, when Elanga picks that ball up, Gravenberch should be on Wood. He should be in that right side centre-back role. But he's wandered back into midfield because, he doesn't know how to play these positions. So, it's going to happen. It's happened a bunch of times this season. It will continue to happen. The guy's not naturally suited to playing these roles. That doesn't happen if Fabinho's in the team. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen if Endo's in the team. That goal. They drop into that centre-back position and they stay there. And Ibu stays in the midfield role because these players know that that's where they're meant to be. Virgil turns the wrong way. I don't have an issue with his positioning, but he turns the wrong way. He kind of baits Elanga into carrying the ball, and Elanga calls his bluff and plays it behind him into Chris Wood. Huge credit to Elanga, huge credit to Wood, but I think there's 4 of our lads that could do significantly better. But ultimately, nothing comes of it if Gravenberch doesn't wander out of position.
Yeah, you're right, because the area that's vacated is the exact area the ball is played into that causes so much damage. And I think it makes Virgil look bad as well, almost, because he has his back to play. He's running back towards goal and he's making a call on which way to go. I think it's difficult. I did see Virgil getting dug out on Twitter as well.
So Virgil actually, so Karl mentioned Virgil being behind. The reason Virgil is behind the rest of the defence is because when Hudson-Odoi picks it up, Wood makes his initial run. So Virgil drops to go with him, but he plays it to Elanga instead. So when Virgil turns back to face Elanga and see what's happening, Wood just holds his run. It's actually brilliant centre-forward play by Chris Wood. He makes the first run. He doesn't get the ball. He holds up his run. He stays onside and he goes again. It's really, really well done by Chris Wood. But it's just an accumulation of mistakes on our side.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.